having some fun really playing with this new Facebook Live, how to get to people for more on the screens of the interview. And today we're going to keep talking about the same thing we talked about last week, which was earthkeeping. And last week Sue shared her stories of how she did it and how that flowed through in Rapa Nui, Focused Island. And today we're going to talk more about how you can directly practice earthkeeping on your own land. And so welcome, Sue.
Thank you.
And I'm Fawn, also known as Barbara. And that's a different story of how I got that name. But for today, call me Peter. And so, Sue, a lot of people who come here, they know that we call this place Vortex Healing Center because it is actually a vortex. Can you just start by maybe explaining a little bit about what this vortex?
Well, very similar to human beings, the planet has energy meridians going through it. We have yin and yang energy lines, as in the Chinese medicine, and the Earth also has the yin and yang energy lines flowing through them. And when there's a big crossing of two powerful lines, a vortex forms. All the vertical ones are female, all the horizontal ones are male, or sometimes vice versa, whichever way you're facing. So yep, so you have to find your ley line. There's ley lines approximately every 10 metres, or small lines, but sometimes there's been bits of work done on them before and they've actually grown. So you need to know how to dowse them and how to find them and how to feel them. And that's basically...
So how did you find the vortex on your property?
Well, I'd bought this property. I had a vision, my one and only vision ever in my life, to buy a place here in Tassie. And I just knew that it was 7 kilometres as the crow flies from St Mary's. So I drew a line, a circle round 7 kilometres, and looked at all the places that were for sale inside that circle. And it took me ages. I looked... friend and I came over and looked, and we'd given up. We only had 2 more on our list, and we stopped at the Pancake Barn and had some lunch because the last 2 to look at were down the dirt road just past the Pancake Barn. And so we had a lovely lunch and then jumped back in the car and headed down Dalmain Road. And the first place was dark, covered in heavy timber, very, very wet, way beyond anything I could do with it, and really quite small. And so we didn't look at that much longer. We kept going, and the next place we found for sale was way out of my league. It had a beautiful big 3-bedroom house on tennis court, everything else. No, that one couldn't quite afford that one. And we couldn't turn around, so I kept driving, and we got deeper into the bush, and I thought, whoa, we should turn around. And we couldn't turn around, so we kept driving. We went over this little rickety old bridge and up a very steep hill. And when we got to the top of the steep hill, this magnificent vista of the ocean appeared. And I thought, oh, wow, look at that. And we kept driving. We went to turn around in a driveway there, and it had prosecutors will be trespassers will be shot. So we kept going. And the next one that I turned round in, one we could turn round in. What? Sorry? Yeah. But anyway, I turned into a little driveway, and it had a little painted sign swinging on this very decrepit fence saying for sale by owner. And I thought, this is it. And so, to cut a long story short, I ended up buying it. There was a lot of coincidences, and really weird happenings to get here, and eventually I got here and I bought the land, and I wasn't ready to move over. I had problems with my father. He was getting the early stages of dementia, so we needed to be there and couldn't leave it all to my sister to do. And so it was 6 years nearly before I could move over. But in the meantime, I bought an old caravan so I could come over on the weekend and holidays, and I parked it behind this huge old laurel tree that's on the property. And because I had been camping and it rained and everything was just saturated. I thought, oh, this is so nice to get into a dry, warm bed. And I looked at the ceiling. I thought, whoa, that's all purple. Why is the roof purple? Why can't I sleep? I'm bouncing around here off the walls. This feels really nice, but wow, I don't need to sleep. So I bet I parked on a ley line. And so sure enough, I got out the trusty coat hanger the next morning, and there it was, right under the bed with a caravan. So it was a small ley line. It was about 6 inches wide. I say small, that's quite a big one, but it's a small one compared to what it is today. It's over 250 metres wide now. That's huge.
And so this particular vortex has some really special characteristics. One is where we are is different in vortex from other vortexes.
Where the vortex formed, there's a crossing of another line which they call the Hartmann line. The negative lines are called Hartmann lines, and the negative line crossed the big ley line that I'd parked the caravan on. And the more I used it, the more the energy from both lines was flowing into it. So eventually a small vortex formed, but it didn't form on the line. It formed back, probably about 10 metres away from it. And a corresponding male vortex formed on the other side of it. So we had a female and a male one. But again, as we used the line more and did more meditation and more little ceremonies when the solstices and equinoxes were around and things like that on special days, it all adds to the energy. And then I just was having dinner with my friend one night. We put up the teepee all day and we sat down there eating some stew that she'd had and drinking red wine and in front of our little fire. And she said, my right leg's gone all funny and starting to tingle. And I thought, oh, my left leg's gone all funny and starting to tingle. And we looked at each other and thought, we've got to blend the vortex. So I went and stood on the small female one, and my friend Joe went and stood on the male one, and then we could feel the two of them being drawn together. And this created the big vortex that's there now. And most vortexes are either male or female. The difference, which was your original question, is that mine has, or the vortex here on the property has male-female rings, concentric rings of male and female energy. The male and female haven't blended and become one. They've stayed separate but become one as such. So it's a male-female vortex which creates a rift in the ether. We've got energy going in concentric rings, anti-clockwise for the female and clockwise for the male. So it's clockwise, anti-clockwise, clockwise, and anti-clockwise. And that creates a rift in the ether.
Yeah, so how do most people feel that physically that they come in this particular vortex?
When you stand on the vortex, which is our favourite trick, because everyone says, I don't believe in any of this stuff. Nah, can't work. Nah, don't feel anything, never feel anything. You tell them to stand in the vortex area and close their eyes, and pretty soon they'll be pulled forwards or backwards, depending on which ring they're standing on. So we then ask them to take a step forward or backwards, and they will be pulled in the opposite direction as they stand on another ring. So you can easily find this vortex now because of the conflicting rings.
So is that the same way that someone would find a vortex on their property, or what should somebody who has a beautiful space and they know they feel something going on in their space, how would they get feeling to know where's the right direction to look, or what could they do to find their special spot on their property?
Well, my favourite way of finding the energy lines is using an old coat hanger, a steel coat hanger or a metal coat hanger, because they swing easily from side to side and they'll let you know what line you're on, whether it's a male one or a female. Like if it's a male, it'll swing right. If it's a female line, it'll swing left. And you can walk across it and it'll swing right or left, so you know, okay, I'm on the male line or the female line. But if it swings both ways, you know you're on a male-female vortex. Now, it really is quite rare. What you will find is that in the beginning, when you first use your vortex or find a vortex area crossing of lines, you will find that the vortex takes on a male or female role. But as you use it more, it can develop.
Let's say somebody has figured out how to use the because I know you won't say it's so easy, but it's not an obvious thing when you're first learning how to dowse. It just feels really weird and kind of silly. So so imagine yourself, you've got this beautiful block of land, you're building a house, and you live on this beautiful block of land somewhere on the planet, and it just is very special to you. You know there are very special places on the vortex. And you grab this coat hanger, and apparently, in the States, you have to buy some. You can use those coat hangers to come from the dry cleaning store because they're really cheap digital ones that will go easy, like she's talking about. And,
First you have to ask.
Does it matter if it's a male or female vortex? Does it matter? Who cares?
Yeah. First you need to program it, because a coat hanger will work on the differences in the energy and the earth. Like if you walk over an underground creek, there's an interruption in the gravity flow, so it will either swing left or just become still for a moment. Then you walk on and it'll start moving again. The interruption to the gravity flow and the magnetic flow, more importantly, is what the coat hanger responds to. So when you set out to find an energy line, you say, okay, coat hanger, please show me a ley line.
So maybe we're going to have to do a live video, or maybe not a live video, a live shoot video of you actually using the coat hanger. Maybe that's part of the process of what's going to learn. So if you're watching this live or you're watching this on play, please click it and let us know, is that something you'd like to learn how to dowse? Because it really is a very special technique to use for an enormous number of purposes. What else do you use dowsing for? Finding vortex is one thing. What else do you use dowsing for?
Water, obviously. You can find water and you can find out how deep it is, and you can actually ask you. We laughingly in our meditation group that we used to have called it the Oracle of the Coat Hanger, because we could ask it questions and it would give us a yes or no answer. So there's anything you can program it for. Each energy, like a yes energy, has a different gravitational pull than a no energy.
I think that's more like an extension of muscle testing.
It's similar to muscle testing, and it's more like a pendulum. But pendulums, I find you can easily manipulate. Oh, I think there's a ley line right here, so it will respond because it picks up on your positive energy.
Well, I think that's part of what I find so chat about this for a bit. There are so many special
on top of the energy lines.
Or not? Do they create a vortex just because they want a vortex?
If they do enough work and enough sacred stuff, yes, they will draw energies to it. And so a line forms, and if you're doing it the right way, you will end up with a very workable vortex, a higher energy vortex.
I think that's what I get from a lot of people. They would really like to play with to learn how to do that. Because they know they've got something special on their property. They've been to some sacred sites and they felt energies. I'm not exactly sure how to describe them. And they know where they live, there could be some really sacred special places.
Yeah,
There's number one mistake people make when they're trying to do this all by themselves.
it's difficult, isn't it? They don't really make mistakes, but they don't really listen. The only thing you can go wrong on is not listening. Think, oh, well, that was the wind blowing the coat hanger, or that was me doing that. I could actually feel myself moving it, or, yeah, it worked, but I don't know, I don't trust it. And you immediately put a negative slant on it, and the coat hanger will swing the other way. So it's, again, you've got to learn to listen. The biggest thing in life is to learn to listen. And you don't just listen with your ears, you listen with every cell in your body. Each cell, as we have all been told by scientists, has its own intelligence, and it does. I know I listen with all of my body. When I'm out, like when I was at Easter Island recently, we had to find the energy line. Well, we got out the car and thought, wow, here it is. That was a very, very obvious one. But not all of them are like that. But Easter Island is a very pure place. And many of the big vortexes around the world have all been used widely by all and sundry, and not for good reasons sometimes, and some for well-meaning reasons, but not proper ones. And they get polluted. Easter Island's totally pure. Tasmania is totally pure. But a lot of them aren't. Ullaru's tainted. Egypt is certainly tainted. France is pretty good. Of the big ones we've been to, Mount Shasta was very tainted. We actually get dragged off the beaten path for that one.
Yeah, and in your mind, what tainted some of those really, highly sacred places?
Sorry, I didn't hear that last bit.
I said, what would make a sacred place?
Just people using it wrongly, people with low vibrating energy on there all the time, and people using it for their own good, saying, okay, vortex, I'm going to draw this energy in and use it to get rich, to get power over people. Mostly it's used for power, is tainting it.
See, I've seen a lot of really well-intentioned people believing they're doing light work, trying to fix things. How do you see that playing out in the sacred sites? I see a lot of that.
Yeah, and that's very, very difficult, because these people are very well-meaning, and there's a lot of people going to places and doing ceremonies and leaving crystals, and that's my pet hate, people leaving crystals everywhere, because you don't know where the crystals have been, or how they've been programmed, or who's been handling them, and what vibrations they're carrying. You can actually take from the purity of places. Now, I have been known to leave a few crystals at places, but they're the ones that I travel with for that express purpose, and they are pure. They're totally cleansed on the vortex, and they're all programmed to return to the vortex, the energy, and created a line to that particular spot I've placed them. They're very special crystals, and they're only used for that one specific purpose. And making essences.
I'd like if people comment below if they're on crystals and all of that comes from this commenting at down here and so
I'm only hearing you from downstairs, actually. I'm not hearing you on the computer, so.
just last few minutes, we've got a big event coming up this weekend. I want to just chat very quickly about what's happening here at the Vortex this weekend.
Yeah, we've got the some of the 13 grandmothers of Australia coming down. We're having our annual general meeting here, and unfortunately not all of them can come, but we're going to have a good time anyway. But Sunday we're going to have an open day here where you'll meet and greet and talk to them and ask any questions you want to. They will talk to you or give a little talk, and then we'll all go around the power sites or walk the very powerful labyrinths that we have on the place now. There'll be lots of exciting things, and at the end of the day we're going to have the most beautiful crystal sound bath with the lovely Leela and Sharon.
Yeah, we've had that once before. It's not been quite as long as that, but it's always a very, very good day.
It's absolutely magnificent.
So thank you all for joining us, and whether you're watching this live or whether you're watching the replay, we'd love to hear your comments, and we'd love to hear what other things you'd like to ask Grandmother Sue. So thanks for joining, and catch you all soon.
Bye-bye.